Hello YouTube, Bryce Builds It All here, your favorite AMPIA Part 147 instructor. And I'm not really sure how to make this video, so I'm just going to start talking and we will see where it goes. There's not going to be any editing, there's not going to be any intros, just please stick around. My mother-in-law, you may have noticed I didn't post a video on Wednesday or last Sunday, and that's because my mother-in-law passed away Sunday, July 28th at approximately 5:45 in the morning. My wife is absolutely shattered. I'm doing my best to be a loving husband and support her and her two children, my stepchildren, through all of this. If you've never watched one of the videos before, this is one of your first videos, or if you don't know me that well, a little bit about that situation. I am 30 years old. My wife is 16 years my senior. She's 46. And my mother-in-law was, at the time of her death, 84 years old. So generations are a little weird in our family and how old everyone is, but these things can happen. So like I said, she was 84 years old. She passed away Sunday morning. She lost her battle with Alzheimer's and dementia. She's been kind of going downhill for a couple of years now. If you've been watching the channel, I'm sure you've heard some of this in other videos. Like I said, if this is your first video or you're new, I'll give you a quick rundown. She was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and dementia, I think 2019, 2020, somewhere in there. We had gone on a vacation to Pennsylvania. She wanted to go back east one last time, is what she always said. So while she was still spry enough to travel, we decided to take her back to her home in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and we took her to her childhood house. Of course, it's been sold and bought, so we weren't allowed to go in or anything. But we took her to a childhood home. We took her to her parents' grave and all of that kind of stuff. And we had a bit of experience going through Gettysburg and all of that. But that was kind of our first wake-up call as to what was all going on, because we had got her own room at that hotel. And at about 2 in the morning, the first night there, we realized that she was in the hallways knocking on people's doors looking for her daughter, and she was doing something that's known as sundowning. So this was our wake-up call to what was going on, because at the time, my wife's oldest son was living with her, so he was kind of there to keep an eye on her, and we didn't really know any of this because he didn't talk about it. But we realized something was wrong, and we realized that she probably needed a little bit more care. She already had a home health provider, but we got her more hours through the state and some stuff like that. But eventually that just wasn't enough, and we had to private pay someone for an additional overnight shift, or my wife would stay overnight or whatever it was. But then I think it was 2021, maybe 2022. Guys, I guess it was 2022. She took a walk from her house. I've talked about this before. She took a walk from her house, and she ended up about 4 miles away in a neighborhood across a major highway and across railroad tracks in Hondo, Texas. So at that point, that was kind of the final straw, the last straw, if you will. We couldn't afford to keep her in her house anymore because we couldn't afford the resources. So we ended up having to go through the process of getting her approved for Medicaid, and we placed her in a nursing and rehab facility in Bandera, Texas, close to our home. And I won't speak ill of the nursing home facility, although there are many, many, many things I could say. What I will say is this: there are a handful of absolutely incredible nurses and CNAs and staff who have devoted their life to taking care of the elderly in that home, as well as many homes across the nation, who care very deeply for the elderly, and you can see that in how they treat them and how they talk to them. But she lived there for about 1.5 years, all the while her condition worsening. And it was kind of out of the blue, because in typical Dona McQueen fashion, even the nursing home would have told you that her medicine and her regiment of medicine was nothing for someone her age. She had like 1 or 2 mood stabilizers and like 1 or 2 memory pills. And like 1 or 2 pain pills. Like, she didn't really have a lot of physical health issues, despite a history of heart disease in her family. But she didn't really have any physical health ailments. She had a little bit of pain because she had a metal plate in her neck from where she had a broken neck, and that would cause her discomfort. So she had some pain medicines like tramadol and whatnot. But besides the point, so yeah, like I said, she was there for almost 1.5 years, almost 2 years. And they called us Thursday night. Well, actually, we went Thursday night, and she was asleep, and it was just kind of normal to us because when you get old like that, your body doesn't really synthesize, or I should say metabolize medicine as well. So it will sort of build up in your system and then sort of cascade all at once. And that would happen to her, and she would sleep for 3 or 4 days straight. And that happened several times while she was there. So I thought maybe that's kind of what was happening, but I think me and my wife both knew something more was going on. And they called us Friday night and told us that she was transitioning, is what they call it. So we spent the night, Friday night, there. We slept in the room with her on a twin bed, which was really uncomfortable. My wife stayed on a chair throughout the night, holding her hand, both in bed and then out of bed. Saturday morning, I went to the house, picked up the boys, our children, and we brought them to the nursing home so that they could spend some time with her. We then went and had lunch together. I took the boys back home. I returned to the nursing home with my wife, and my wife spent all of Saturday night in a chair, holding her hand, talking to her, because they say that the majority of people pass between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, and she wanted to be up during that time just in case. But in typical Dona McQueen fashion, what I was saying earlier is her body was healthy right till the end. They took her vitals, her blood pressure was okay, her heart rate was okay, even her oxygen was okay at about 4:30 in the morning. So my wife said, I'm exhausted, I'm tired. She's probably going to be okay for at least the rest of the day, probably until this evening, so let's go home, take a shower, because she hadn't showered in like 2 days at that point. Go home, take a shower, maybe get a couple hours of rest, bring the boys back in the morning. Donna's oldest son is going to be flying in. This is all supposed to happen Sunday. Her oldest son is supposed to fly in to come see her, so we'll go home, we'll do that. So my wife told her, she said, I love you, I want you to know we're going to go home, we're going to pick up the boys, we'll be right back. Your son Brian is on the way to come see you. And she said, it's okay, you can go to Jesus, which she kind of regrets saying, but I don't think that was what did it. So we left, and no sooner did we get home, get showered, and get in our own bed, we got a call from the nurse at the nursing home and said that she just passed. And we hadn't been gone maybe 45 minutes. So it was a bit heartbreaking for my wife, because she really wanted to be sitting there holding her hand when it happened. So that it is what it is. I ask, if you are religious, that you say a prayer for her in her name. If you are not religious, I understand there was a period in my life where I was not. I ask that you say her name out loud one time in front of your family, in your car, by yourself, wherever it is you may be. Say her name one time. That is Dona McQueen. May she rest in peace. Like I said, she was born in February of 1940, and she lived until July 28th of 2024. She passed at 84 years old. So with all that being said, I've got a backlog of videos saved on my GoPro that I'm going to try to upload, but I'm not going to make any promises. It's a very busy time right now. Being on Medicaid and having all of her retirements and everything, we've got to get a dozen death certificates, and everybody wants one. I don't know why people who are giving you money, you tell them, hey, she's passed. They'd be like, well, you need you to prove that. Until then, we're going to keep giving you money, and then you're going to owe all of that back to us and just make more paperwork and headache for everyone. But that's the way it is. So we're going to be very busy handling all of those things. We don't have a memorial service planned yet. We're waiting for her ashes to come back from cremation, and then we'll do that. We're going to have a service both in Hondo so that some of her can be buried with her husband, and then we're going to take some of her ashes back to Pennsylvania, and we're going to spread them and have a family ceremony with all of her side of the family, the Lomans, as they're called, and we're going to have a family ceremony in Pennsylvania. So like I said, some videos are going to be coming out. I've got a lot of stuff going on. I am busy. I'll try to upload when I can, and eventually things will get back to normal as far as upload schedule goes. Of course, it seems that I didn't really have anything to do for a month. My mother-in-law passes away, and now I've got 3 annuals and a pre-buy, and a friend of mine wants me to be a guest speaker. It's just a lot going on at once. So I'd like to thank you all for your patience. Thank you for watching this video. Leave a comment below, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Go build something. Be easy.